Imagine a massive bodybuilder, all muscle and confidence, failing miserably on a simple chin-up, while a live calisthenics athlete collapses under a barbell that would be a warm-up for most lifters. It feels like a punch to the ego, and it raises a question that sits at the heart of every gym floor. Why do these two worlds clash so violently when they try to borrow from each other? In the next 9 minutes, we'll peel back the layers of training philosophy, movement patterns, and the hidden nervous system tricks that keep each discipline on its own track. By the end, you'll see the exact reasons why a size-first approach can't magically give you flawless pull-ups, and why a skill-first routine won't automatically load the plates you crave. Let's dive in. First, let's define the playing fields. Bodybuilding is built around hypertrophy, the science of making muscle fibers grow larger. It leans heavily on isolation work, heavy dumbbells, barbells, and machines, with a mindset that every set is a step toward more mass. Calisthenics, on the other hand, lives in the realm of bodyweight mastery. It prizes mobility, fluid kinetic chains, and the ability to control one's own weight through complex, often static holds and dynamic movements. The two seem like parallel tracks, but when athletes try to cross-train, the friction can be brutal. Why does this matter? Because many of us are chasing the best of both worlds, the aesthetic fullness of a bodybuilder and the functional strength of a street workout pro. Yet when the underlying goals don't align, progress stalls, injuries appear, and frustration mounts. In this video, we'll break down 4 core reasons these disciplines get in each other's way, reveal the pivotal shift that can harmonize them, and hand you a concrete hybrid routine you can start tomorrow. The first core reason is the clash of training philosophy, hypertrophy versus skill. Bodybuilders chase muscle size by loading the muscles with progressive overload, typically in the 8 to 12 rep range, and they stack volume across multiple isolated movements. Their nervous system adapts to lift heavier weights, but it often does not train the fine-grained coordination needed for bodyweight gymnastics. Calisthenics athletes, however, chase skill mastery. They repeat a movement until the neural pathways for timing, balance, and intermuscular coordination are etched into the brain. Their sets are usually low in reps but high in technique, focusing on perfect form rather than sheer load. This creates a fundamental mismatch. A bodybuilder's program builds bulk but can neglect the networking of muscles needed to move efficiently through space, while a calisthenics program hones the network but may not provide enough mechanical tension for massive growth. Neurologically, the two approaches speak different languages. Hypertrophy training stimulates the growth of muscle fibers, the contractile elements, but often leaves the communication between those fibers underdeveloped. Calisthenics, by contrast, trains the nervous system to fire multiple motor units in precise sequences, sharpening the timing of muscle activation. When you try to merge them without a plan, you either overload the nervous system with too much volume, leading to sloppy technique, or you starve the muscles of the tension needed to grow. Imagine trying to learn a complex dance while carrying a heavy backpack. The weight throws off your balance, and the dance suffers. Programming conflict follows naturally. A typical bodybuilding split might hit each muscle group twice a week with dedicated days for chest, back, legs, and so on. A calisthenics routine often revolves around full-body skill sessions 3 times a week, each focusing on a different movement pattern. For example, a pull-focused day, a push-focused day, and a core-centric session. If you simply tack on a few pull-ups after a heavy bench day, you'll find yourself exhausted, form breaking down, and progress grinding to a halt. The overlap in volume and intensity can push the central nervous system past its recovery capacity, leading to chronic fatigue and a higher risk of injury. The takeaway from this philosophical clash is clear. You cannot expect a size-first program to hand you flawless muscle-ups overnight, nor can a skill-first regimen magically load a barbell with plates without first building a solid strength base. The objectives must be realigned before you can truly blend the two. Now let's shift from ideas to the actual movements that cause trouble. Bodybuilding movements tend to be linear, isolated, and performed on stable surfaces. Think bench presses, dumbbell curls, and leg extensions. These exercises are excellent for creating tension in a single muscle, but they rarely require the body to stabilize itself in multiple planes at once. Calisthenics, by contrast, is built on compound full-body actions that demand coordination across joints. A muscle-up, for instance, starts with a pull-up, transitions through a dynamic rotation, and ends with a dip, a seamless chain that forces the shoulders, elbows, wrists, and core to work together. When a bodybuilder steps into this chain without having trained the supporting muscles to fire in concert, the joints are suddenly exposed to forces they've never seen, increasing the chance of strain. Conversely, a calisthenics athlete who loads a heavy barbell without having conditioned the connective tissue and neural pathways for high-load stability can find the barbell wobbling, the spine rounding, and the lift failing catastrophically. Joint stress is amplified when the movement patterns are mismatched. Heavy barbell squats force the hips and knees to move primarily in a vertical plane, while a pistol squat, the calisthenics equivalent, demands balance, ankle mobility, and a deep hip stretch, all while supporting the entire body weight on a single leg. If you have spent months loading the barbell in a stable, symmetrical stance, you may lack the proprioceptive awareness to keep that single leg steady, leading to wobble and potential injury. The reverse is also true. A street workout athlete who has mastered the pistol squat may find that loading a barbell in a traditional squat feels unstable because the nervous system is accustomed to a very different distribution of forces. What do you think about this clash of training philosophies? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your perspective. But the story doesn't end with joints alone. The next hidden obstacle is the way each discipline treats the nervous system and the energy pathways behind every rep. Bodybuilders typically train in a low-repetition, high-load zone that taxes the phosphocreatine system and builds maximal strength in short bursts. Their muscles learn to fire in a very specific isolated pattern, and the central nervous system gets accustomed to a predictable linear stimulus. In contrast, calisthenics athletes spend a lot of time in the higher rep, endurance-oriented range, where the aerobic and anaerobic glycolytic systems dominate. They also practice a great variety of angles, tempos, and explosive transitions, forcing the brain to constantly rewire motor patterns. When a bodybuilder steps into a muscle-up ladder without that neural flexibility, the brain simply can't coordinate the pull, the swing, and the dip fast enough, leading to missed reps and frustration. Conversely, a street workout enthusiast who suddenly loads a heavy barbell may find the nervous system screaming for stability because the motor units that were trained for rhythm and flow now have to generate raw, static force. The mismatch creates a mental wall as much as a physical one, and that wall can make the athlete quit before they ever see progress. Recovery and tissue adaptation follow the same split. Heavy weight training creates micro tears primarily in the contractile fibers, and the body's repair mechanisms focus on protein synthesis and collagen reinforcement around the tendon insertions. Calisthenics, with its constant use of full body tension and joint compression, produces more stress on the connective tissue, ligaments, and the joint capsule itself. If you load a barbell after weeks of only bodyweight work, the tendons may be supple but not yet accustomed to the sheer tensile forces, increasing the risk of tendinitis. The opposite is true for a bodybuilder who has never practiced the deep stretch of a pistol squat. The fascia around the hip can be tight, limiting range of motion and causing compensatory patterns that hurt the lower back. Understanding this recovery polarity is essential because it tells you why soreness can feel alien and why progress stalls when you ignore the specific repair needs of each system. So, how do you bridge the gap and turn these two worlds into a single synergistic program? The key is to build a foundation that respects both the strength-first and the skill-first principles. Start with a 3-day split that alternates focus. On day 1, prioritize pure strength, heavy compound lifts like the squat and the bench press in a moderate rep range, complemented by a few weighted pull-ups to keep the pulling chain engaged. On day 2, shift to pure skill. Practice progressions of the muscle, up, the front lever, and the pistol squat, using bands or assistance as needed, but keep the volume low to avoid overwhelming the nervous system. On day 3, blend the two by performing a weighted dip followed immediately by a set of bodyweight rows, then finish with a core circuit that includes hanging leg raises and plank variations. Keep the rest period short on the skill day to maintain a metabolic demand similar to calisthenics, and longer on the strength day to allow full recovery of the heavy lifts. Over the course of 4 to 6 weeks, gradually increase the load on the weighted movements while simultaneously stepping up the difficulty of the bodyweight progressions. This periodized approach gives the muscles time to grow, the nerves time to adapt, and the joints time to strengthen their connective tissue in a balanced way. Now that you have the why and the how, it's time to put it into practice. Grab a notebook, write down your current maxes and the skill moves you want to master, and map out the 3-day routine for the next month. Track your performance, notice any lingering soreness, and adjust the volume accordingly. You'll start to see that the dreaded plateau fades, and the once clumsy pull-up becomes smooth while the barbell feels steadier under your grip. What has been your biggest obstacle when trying to mix these two styles? Have you ever felt the same frustration described here? Share your experience in the comments below. I love reading how you tackle these challenges. If you found this deep dive helpful, give the video a thumbs up and let it know that you want more science-backed training breakdowns. And, of course, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss the next episode where we'll explore nutrition strategies that support both hypertrophy and skill performance. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and keep training smarter.